Almost nothing can stop you from succeeding if you have A, flexibility, and B, self-accountability. Flexibility is what allows you to accept what reality or knowledgeable people teaches you. Self-accountability is essential because if you really believe that failing to achieve a goal is your personal failure, you will see your failing to achieve it as indicative that you haven't been creative or flexible to determine enough to do what it takes. And you will be that much more motivated to find the way. Morning, everybody. Hope everybody is well. I am looking forward to another really amazing day. I was just thinking this morning that it really depends on what we want to make it, that we can create whatever we want. And for the last few days, I have been feeling absolutely amazing, and I feel in the mood and ready to create some really amazing things. And one of the ways that I like to get started, and one of the reasons why you might be here, is because we are reading Principles by Dalio. And reading is such a great way to start the day. One, you're increasing your knowledge. Two, you feel like you're doing something really productive. And three, it gives you some momentum and impetus for the day, and gives you things that you can implement, and that gives you whatever you need to get started. It feels like you've already done something really productive with your day. So let's get into the reading. I am looking forward to it. Hopefully you are too. And thank you so much for joining. And then the reading is a lot smoother. Okay, we are reading Have Clear Goals 2.1. We're up to part F. Let's do this. And by the way, everybody on Bigo, there's so many people on Bigo. So great to see you all. I will get back to you in just a moment. First, we'll do some reading, and then I'll check to see who joined and follow everybody and say thank you to you all over time. F. Remember that great expectations create great capabilities. If you limit your goals to what you know you can achieve, you are setting the bar way too low. You always want to be achieving more. It actually reminds me of a great book that I read many years ago when I was younger called Great Expectations. And it talked about, it's Charles Dickens, so it's a very famous book. Many of you may have read it, maybe not. But it's all about a child who is given great expectations, and he has money from somebody, and he has all these opportunities to do things. So he goes out and does it, and he thinks he knows where the money comes from. But there is a twist, and I'm not going to ruin it for you. So you need to read the book. But one thing that you need to remember is that as humans, and we spoke about it yesterday, we can achieve just about anything. We talked about the 4-minute mile, and we talked about selling over $1 million worth of goods on the internet within 24 hours, and how they were both impossible. But that when you believe that something is possible, you can find a way. And so you need to go out and look for ways to make things possible. And so you should never set your expectations on what you think that you can do too low, because you can always achieve more. But you need to find what is important for you, what works for you, what you enjoy, and that's what you need to do. Okay, let's get into part G. Almost nothing can stop you from succeeding if you have A, flexibility, and B, self-accountability. Flexibility is what allows you to accept what reality or knowledgeable people teaches you. Self-accountability is essential because if you really believe that failing to achieve a goal is your personal failure, you will see your failing to achieve it as indicative that you haven't been creative or flexible to determine enough to do what it takes. And you will be that much more motivated to find the way. Now, again, we spoke a couple of days ago about flexibility and how bamboo sways in the wind. If it was rigid and it was just stiff, then when the wind would blow, it would just snap, and that would not be good. If you look at skyscrapers, they move around 5 to 6 meters either side, and if they didn't sway, then they would also snap off and break, and that would not be fun if you're at the top of them. So it's really important to be flexible and to have self-accountability. So when you are flexible, you will also find that more is possible. If you are always against everybody, if you always find issues everywhere, then you're not being flexible to go with the flow of life. So life is always going to throw things at you that don't work out very well. And that can be a real pain in the backside. So it's really important that you work on your flexibility. And as I said, when I mentioned it the first time, a few days ago probably, there's a very strong personal development lesson or teaching, which is that the most flexible person is going to be the most successful, because they can weave their way around. Rather than getting stuck thinking about something that is an issue, they just look for a way around it. So if there is a wall in front of them, they will jump over it if they can. If they can't jump over it, they'll dig a hole under it. If they can't dig a hole under it, they'll see if they can go around on one of the sides and see how far it takes to travel. They'll just keep going. And if they can't do that, then they'll look for a bulldozer to just bulldoze their way through it. So if you are flexible, you'll find different solutions, rather than the person who sees the wall and just sits there and tells everybody that there's a wall. I can't get across. I love what I see. I jump and see what's on the other side, but I can't get there. If you're flexible, you'll find a way. And that's what that part is talking about. Part H. Knowing how to deal well with your setbacks is as important as knowing how to move forward. Sometimes you know that you are going over a waterfall and there is no way to avoid it. Life will throw you such challenges, some of which will seem devastating at the time. In bad times, your goal might be to keep what you had, to minimize your rate of loss, or simply to deal with a loss that is irrevocable. Your mission is to always make the best possible choices, knowing that you will be rewarded if you do. So yes, in life there are setbacks. This is very similar to the one before that. And thank you to everybody on Bigo for all the hearts, by the way. I see so many people, and I'm going to get back to you in just a moment. I'll go through the whole list and see who's joined and say hello and thank everybody for the hearts and get in touch. But yes, first of all, it is so important that when setbacks happen, that you don't see it as something that needs to stop you, but you find that way around. And so when you have setbacks, and they are going to happen, you still need to find that way to move forward. So if there's a wall, either see if you can jump over it, or find a ladder so you can get over it, or dig a hole and go under it, or go around it. If there is, if the wall only goes so far, you might think that there's a wall, but maybe it only goes a kilometer to the right and a kilometer to the left, and then you can actually go around it. There might be doors further up. It might just be like 2 kilometers worth of wall, and then there are doors. You just ended up at a section without doors. You might need to get a bulldozer or just bulldoze your way through. I was thinking about, well, actually, it came up a couple of times. Yesterday, somebody was talking in a webinar that I was in, and they were talking about the fact that if somebody put a gun to your head and said that they had kidnapped somebody that you loved, and that you needed to come up with 1 million or they would kill the other person, and then they let you go, one, you'd have the fear of the fact that you just had a gun to your head. Two, you'd know that they had your loved one and that they would be killed if you don't bring $1 million. Now, my guess is that most people would be able to find a way, because the motivation is now so high. When it comes to just making money for ourselves, or doing this for ourselves, or doing that for ourselves, very often we don't believe we deserve it. But when somebody puts a gun to your head, your motivation is so much higher than it would be if you were to just want to do it for yourself. So in moments like that, the impossible becomes possible. Either you would go to all your friends and family and you would ask for the money, or you would find a way to set up a GoFundMe page. And if you don't know how to do that, you would ask people, you would do this, you would do absolutely anything. But usually most things in our life are not life or death situations, or we don't have a gun to our heads. It's just one of those things. So are you willing to hold the gun to your own head to achieve the things that you want to? Because really, all of these things are possible. They just don't seem possible because we don't have the motivation. So remember that wall, and remember that there might be doors in that wall. You might need to get a bulldozer. But if you want to see what's on the other side of that wall, where it is really, really beautiful, so you might be in this deserted, not so beautiful place. It reminds me of I saw a documentary once, and I think it was on Haiti and the Dominican Republic. And there was a wall, and one side is affluent and the other side is very poor. And you can see that on one side of the wall, there's just like bare land and not many trees. And you have these mud huts and different things like this. And on the other side, you have lush greenery, you have trees, you have all of these different amazing things. And there are people who are standing at that wall who are desperate to get to the other side. And some of them give up and they just go back. And they probably don't have a very good life, or some of them might even die. But others are just absolutely determined. They know that there is going to be death and chaos and really bad things that happen on one side. And they just do whatever it takes to get to the other side. And we need to decide whether we want to do the same with our lives. And it doesn't mean that we have to go after the things that society tells us. So we don't need to get that Ferrari or the house or this or that or all of those different things that society tells us. We need to figure out internally for ourselves what it is that is important. And then once you end up figuring out what it is that is so important to you, when you know what brings you joy and happiness, that's what you need to go after. And when there is a wall in front of you, that's when you need to go and find a way, no matter what happens. And it could be that you're doing things for other people. It could be a charitable organization that you want to start up. It could be all sorts of different things. But it's important to realize that when that wall is there, you can break through it. But don't break through a wall that has other people's goals and dreams on the other side of it. We need to be able to internally find out what it is that is important for us. And it doesn't have to be something capitalistic. It doesn't have to be something that society wants us to have. And Kat says, I feel like you never read messages or comments. I do at the end. Only right now I am reading first, and then I come back to some of the comments. And I'm just wondering, and Dan was saying something really, really funny, but I'm not sure what it means. So yes, I'll get back to the comments. Let's continue for a little bit more, and then we will do that. We will read 2.2, identify and don't tolerate problems, and then I'll go back through and read all the comments and say thank you for all the hearts and everything else that's been happening on Bigo. Okay, here we go. Identify and don't tolerate problems. A, view painful problems as potential improvements that are screaming at you. Though it won't feel that way at first, each and every problem you encountered is an opportunity. For that reason, it is essential that you bring them to the surface. Most people don't like to do this, especially if it exposes their own weaknesses or the weaknesses of somebody they care about. But successful people know they have to. So I love it when there are problems. Problems teach me how I can improve. Problems teach me how I can get better. And they teach me where I need to focus and put energy in order to be able to get better. So whenever there are problems, most people crawl up in a ball, or most people are upset, or they complain, or they do all sorts of different things in a negative way in relation to that problem. But if you can learn to see problems as something good, as something that you can benefit from, then you're going to be able to learn more from it, and you're going to be able to use it to strengthen yourself and to be able to move forward. So I always love it when there are problems. B, don't avoid confronting problems because they are rooted in harsh realities that are unpleasant to look at. Thinking about problems that are difficult to solve may make you anxious, but not thinking about them, and hence not dealing with them, should make you more anxious still. When a problem stems from your own lack of talent or skill, most people feel shame. Get over it. I cannot emphasize this enough. Acknowledging your weakness is not the same as surrendering to them. It's the first step toward overcoming them. The pains you are feeling are growing pains that will test your character and reward you as you push through them. So yes, very often when we see problems, we run away. And a couple of days ago, we spoke about a a man in South Africa who saw that there was, or I think it was one African country, and he saw that as people were fleeing the country, that there was a problem with the electricity system. And he loved this country, so he stayed, even though there were going to be problems and less food and lots of other challenges. But he decided to stay, and he fixed the electricity system and became very successful and very wealthy because he created this system for the people in order for them to be able to have electricity, which there wasn't at the time. And so it's very good to confront problems, and problems will teach you, but they'll also be opportunities to become successful very often. Very often it is the problems that actually give us the opportunities, and it's actually the pathway to where we wanted to go. C, be specific in identifying your problems. You need to be precise because different problems have different solutions. If a problem is due to inadequate skill, additional training may be called for. If it arises from an innate weakness, you may need to seek assistance from somebody else or change the role you play. In other words, if you're bad at accounting, hire an accountant. If a problem stems from someone else's weakness, replace them with somebody who is strong where it's needed. That's just the way it is. So the more you understand your problem, the more you can find good solutions. So if somebody is a problem in your life, family is very difficult. You can't get rid of family because your family is your family, even though some people do stop talking to their family. But it is very important to be able to put the right people in place, to surround yourself with the right people. If something becomes more challenging, then you can spend less time with those people. So make sure that you understand the problem, and there are certain ways of dealing with them. And there's a solution to every problem. At the moment, we're just talking about hiring an accountant or being around people less. But in every problem, there's a solution, and there are all these different kinds of solutions to them. Okay, D, don't mistake a cause of a problem with the real problem. And thank you for all the hearts that everybody's been sending, Tinny and ID 798695783. And I'll get back to all of you in just a moment when we finish 2.2. I can't get enough sleep is not a problem. It is a potential cause or perhaps the result of a problem. To clarify your thinking, try to identify the bad outcome first. For example, I am performing poorly in my job. Not sleeping enough may not be the cause of that problem, or the cause may be something else. But in order to determine that, you need to know exactly what the problem is. So when something happens, it is really good to consult people who are able to diagnose a problem properly. So very often we'll look at something and we'll come up with a solution based on perfect example. So I am very much into health, and I might get some criticism for this. I don't really care. So very often when we find a problem, such as, for example, we have a health issue, we live in a society where the solution to those problems is actually backwards. So for example, let's say I have a headache. Now, we don't look at what actually caused that headache. We'll just say, I have a headache. I want to get rid of that headache. And so we take a pain medication and the headache is gone. But the reason why that headache was there in the first place, we haven't actually gotten rid of that. We've just gotten rid of the headache itself. Now, there is a big issue with that. Because if I am not, let's say, for example, the headache was caused because I wasn't drinking enough. I still haven't solved the problem because I'm still not drinking, which means that the headache will return again and again. And I'm just going to keep masking. I'm going to keep finding a Band-Aid solution to get rid of that headache. And so I am not changing the habit to actually fix that problem. I'm going to continue to have that problem. And I'm going to continue to just push it away, push it away, push it away. And actually what I'm doing is I am continuing to deteriorate my health by just pushing it away. So you need somebody that can help you. And sometimes we can figure it out ourselves. Sometimes we need somebody else to help us figure it out. But if I have a headache, I need to have a look at what is causing it. Is it because I'm not drinking enough? Is it because there might be something wrong inside? Is it because of something else? So there could be times where somebody's tumor diagnosis isn't discovered on time because they just keep taking pain medication. Oh, I have a headache, pain medication, headache, pain medication. And so a lot of things are caused in life. A lot of our challenges are caused in our life because we mask something rather than actually taking the time to go and see what is actually really causing that problem. So by drinking more water, I might find that my headaches are still coming. So then I can go to a doctor, to an expert who can, sometimes doctors don't do this, by the way, who can actually diagnose the real cause. So they might find that there is a tumor. They might find something else. Hopefully nobody has a tumor, because that is definitely not pleasant. But it's much better to find something like this early than to discover it really late. So very, very important to make sure that you can find the real cause of a problem so that you can actually eliminate what is causing the problem. So if I start drinking more, or if I find out that I have a tumor, then I can do something that prevents the headache from happening again and again and again. By just masking it and pushing it away, you create more problems than if you actually find the cause. Wow, that one went very deep. That was a very important one. And E, distinguish big problems from small ones. You only have so much time and energy. Make sure you're investing them in exploring the problems that, if fixed, will yield you the biggest returns. But at the same time, make sure you spend enough time with the small problems to make sure they're not symptoms of larger ones. We only have so much time. It is really important to make sure that we only put our time and energy into the things that are going to be the biggest priorities for us, the things that are going to move us to the goal fastest. So there are sometimes 2, 3, 4, 5 different paths to getting to our goals. One might be a little bit quicker. One might be a little bit more pleasant. We have to figure out which one is going to be the best for us. So we want to make sure that we solve bigger problems that are going to move us faster, or that are going to be more pleasant. So sometimes it's okay to take the scenic route if you want to take the scenic route. If you're under time pressure and you need to do something a little bit faster, then you want to take the faster route. And yeah, this is something that's actually been happening with me. So there is somebody that I know that is in a little bit of time constraint, and I've been probably working on it quite hard. And so I'm doing what I can to take the faster route, and I will let them know. And it's probably made me a little bit more quiet, but we are on the verge of getting to the other side of that wall. So I have been working very hard on that wall, and I will reach out to them a little bit later. So make sure that you're also communicating, because sometimes that is one of my weaknesses. And this is what the book teaches us. We all have our weaknesses, and that's something that we need to be aware of. Okay, but make sure that you're working on the big problems, the ones that are really going to get you big results, as opposed to the small, insignificant things that are not really going to move you forward. Very often we just run around in tiny little circles, doing the same things, solving tiny problems, when there could be something that probably takes the same amount of energy, but it will actually get us closer to the goal, as opposed to, not really getting us anywhere. And part F, our last part before we finish today. Once you identify a problem, don't tolerate it. Tolerating a problem has the same consequences as failing to identify it. Whether you tolerate it because you believe it cannot be solved, because you don't care enough to solve it, or because you can't muster enough of whatever it takes to solve it, if you don't have the will to succeed, then your situation is hopeless. You need to develop a fierce intolerance of badness of any kind, regardless of its severity. Very often, we will feel that it's okay to be able to sit with what our problems are. And we don't want to do that. We need to be able to be uncomfortable with the things that are not good. Very often, we will accept our lot in life, and we'll say, this is just the way it is. And that's hardly ever the case. If we feel that something is not right for us, we have the ability to be able to climb out of it and seek a better place. So that's not always going to be the case, but in the majority of cases, there's a solution. There is something that we can do. So we shouldn't just tolerate where we are. We shouldn't just sit there and say, oh, there's nothing I can do. My life is hopeless. we need to go out and find the solutions, and we need to go out and work on them so that we can live a better life. Because when we live a better life, then we can be of more service to other people as well. So if I am overworking and I don't have time to communicate with people, then I need to work on finding the solution. And in the short term, that might actually cost me a bit more time. But what we want to do is we want to not tolerate where we are at. We want to be able to find solutions to things and identify where the problems are. So we can find solutions. And yes, in the short term, that might cause more problems. But it is really important to take that time to find the solution to the problem so that you can get to the other side. And it allows you to do more of the things that you need to do. So it's very, very important. And lots of good things happening on the Big O. It is very busy on the Big O today. Somebody asked why I'm not commenting as much. And I think the challenge is that it is because I have been reading. That was a really great section of the book, and some really good ideas came out of it. And I'd love to know more from you as well. So I do see your messages, and somebody asked what this is about. So we are reading Ray Dalio Principles. Rich Dad, Poor Dad is the book we read before this. And so I've given my commentary to that as well, which is why it might seem a little bit confusing. So I really love seeing your comments. It's a little bit challenging to actually reply to them when I'm reading because I have to keep my head down, and reading is not something that you can see other things at the same time when you're doing that. But I would love to be in touch and see what you think, and you can do that by getting in touch with me on Instagram, business_team_6_official. Excuse me, I need to have a bit more water first. That's where you can find me. I love to talk, important to drink lots of water. So you can find me on Instagram. You can get in touch and let me know your thoughts as well, because I would love to be able to have more of an interaction, but that's challenging when you are reading. So feel free to get in touch and let me know if you are interested in some of the things that I do, such as coming to join us to play a game of cash flow, or the real life simulator, which is a really educational way for you to be able to learn about investing, wealth creation, all of these different things. And it allows you to be able to create strategies around some of these things we were just talking about, how to overcome financial problems so that you can achieve the things that you want to and live a really, what's the best word for it? A fulfilling and a very rewarding life, which is what we all can and should be doing. So that is really important. If you'd like to do that, just let me know. Feel free to get in touch. I see all of you, and I would love to really get in touch with you and get to know more of you. So feel free to reach out. In a moment, I'll go through and see who hearted and who sent messages and follow you all. So I am looking to that. So many people today. It's really amazing. And I see so many little hearts. If you would like to be able to watch more of these recordings, if you're enjoying this, and if you'd like to be able to see me read and get my commentary on the beginning of the book, you can get the rest of the videos and see those on YouTube. We have the Passive Cash Flow Club, where you can join us. It's really great to be able to read all of the other chapters for you and record them so that we can put them on the Passive Cash Flow Club. And we've also just recorded, I think it was 3 or 4 days ago, I recorded 14 new videos with the answers to your questions. So those of you who have been reaching out on Instagram, I've gotten your questions and we've started answering those. Very, very exciting. Make sure, don't just think, oh, somebody else is sending questions and I don't need to do that. I would love to be able to also get your questions around economics, around the book, things that you're not certain of, wealth creation, financial freedom, all of those different kinds of things. Let me know what your questions are so that I can turn those into question and answer videos. Make sure that you subscribe on the YouTube channel so that you know when new videos come out. It might be the answer to one of your questions, or even if you didn't ask a question, it could be a question that is relevant to you that will help you in your real life with regards to your investing and the future of your life. It could mean the difference between achieving your goals or not. Who knows? Might be a bit dramatic, but anyway, I would love to be able to answer your questions. So reach out, join us on the Passive Cash Flow Club. I'm going to start heading off. I have things to do. I am sure you do too. I want to wish you a really great day, and I hope that you achieve all of your goals and dreams, that you get really clear on what it is that you want to do, and that today you really take a really big step forward towards that goal, and that the reading of Ray Dalio's principles has helped you do that, to motivate you. And I want to really be able to send all of my energy and enthusiasm to you, because I love my life and I live according to my principles, which helps me every single day to get better. I'm still not perfect, and there are certain things that I definitely do not get right, but I don't shy away from those problems. I really embrace them and want to be able to go into them and see if I can find solutions. Some of them are easier than others. Some things I continually stuff up, but over time, we want to be able to continually improve. So that is my wish for you. Have an absolutely amazing day. I'm going to stop the recording, and then I'm going to go across to Bigo and see who has joined and say hello to everybody. And I really want to say that I appreciate you being here. I'm looking forward to seeing you again tomorrow for another reading. I might need to drink some more water. You can hear that I love sharing and talking. And yeah, you can hear it on my voice. I'm going to jump over to the Bigo, and thank you so much as always for joining. And remember to make the switch to unlock your rich, because when you do the same things, when you never make any changes, you're going to keep getting the same results. So you want to make some changes to unlock that rich, whether that's financial, health, relationships, whatever it is that's important for you. Go out and achieve your amazing life.